Some things don't stay in the past. There's a particular kind of rot that doesn't announce itself. It doesn't show up with warning signs or flashing lights. It comes wrapped in a ring light and a smile. It comes dressed as entertainment. It comes looking like something harmless. A streamer, a personality, a content creator just doing her thing. But underneath it, something else entirely. And here's the part that should unsettle you most. It's still happening. We need to go back 6 years. That's how long ago this started. Or rather, that's how long ago most people noticed. Because stories like this one don't begin with a viral moment. They begin quietly, in small chat rooms, in the margins, in a comment that gets scrolled past because nobody wants to make a big deal out of it. Her name is InvaderVie. Say it slowly if you want. It won't mean much to you yet. But spend a few hours digging, really digging, and it starts to feel like something you can't quite wash off. She is, by her own description, a streamer, a content creator, someone who makes her living sitting in front of a camera and talking. That's the job. That's the whole job. And for a while, she did it with enough followers to matter, enough viewers to build something real. Then, she opened her mouth about money, and everything changed.
Here's the deal. It doesn't really matter how much money you make or how much money you have. That's really the thing, because I'm not asking you for a large financial contribution. If it cost $20 to sub, $20 is quite a bit of money. $20 is you can get a full meal for $20. And the difference of $20 and eating a meal is in that $20. Like, that's where it is. But a sub is $5. At maximum, in whatever your currency is, it's maybe $10. And it doesn't matter how broke you are. If you have time to watch Twitch, you have $10, truly. If you don't have $10, you probably don't have time to watch Twitch because you should be working. You should be trying to earn money. It's not a ton. It's not like a ton of money. So being like, I'm broke, I can't afford to sub, that doesn't really track. What you mean to say is, I'm so irresponsible with my money, I can't support the entertainment that I enjoy. That's what that is. If I want to go see a movie, but I can't afford to pay for the ticket, I mean, you can just download it. You don't have to sub. You can just watch without supporting it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You have to understand the culture of live streaming to understand why what she did was so deeply wrong. Subscriptions, Twitch subscriptions, are voluntary. That is not a technicality. That is the entire foundation of the relationship between a streamer and their audience. You don't have to pay. The content is free. The subscription is a gift, offered freely, accepted graciously. InvaderVie did not see it that way. What she saw, what she said, out loud, on camera, to thousands of people was something different. What she communicated, with a casualness that makes it so much worse, was this: if you are watching me and you are not paying me, you are doing something wrong. She did not whisper it. She did not imply it. She said it plainly, matter-of-factly, the way you might remind someone to wipe their feet before coming inside. It's just $5. $5. Let's sit with that for a moment, because here's what InvaderVie was not thinking about when she said those words. Or perhaps more disturbingly, here's what she was thinking about and simply did not care. There was a person in her chat that day, maybe more than one. Someone who typed the words that should have stopped her cold, that should have made any reasonable human being pause and recalibrate. Someone said, I would support you if I could, but I have mouths to feed. I have rent to pay. I don't have work right now. Do you know what she did? She shrugged. And then she said, "It's just $5.
I'm unemployed, so basically all my money goes to bills and food, or I would support you. Yeah. It's $5. It's really, like, no one's gonna convince me that what I'm saying is so rude or so unacceptable or so outrageous. It just simply isn't. It's $5. It doesn't cost you that much to sub.
Sit with the architecture of that cruelty for a second. Not cruelty in the screaming, dramatic sense. Cruelty in the quiet, dismissive sense, which is often so much worse because it doesn't even grant the other person the dignity of being worth a real response. It just waves them away. It's just $5. As if the problem is the viewer's perspective. As if all they need to do is reframe the math and suddenly the money appears. This is a person who has never had to choose between keeping the lights on and buying groceries. Or if she has forgotten it so completely that she can look at someone who is living that reality and reduce their entire situation to an inconvenient excuse for not funding her lifestyle. Think about who was in that chat. People coming home from 8, 9, 10-hour shifts. People who worked jobs that left calluses on their hands and exhaustion in their bones. People who came to a live stream not because they had nothing better to do, but because sometimes, after a long day, you just want to sit somewhere that feels light for a little while. You want to watch something. You want to switch your brain off. They came to her stream for that, and she told them they were freeloaders. Who does that? Who looks at an audience that has chosen to spend their time with you, that has chosen you out of thousands of other options on the platform, and decides that the appropriate response is to shame them? Someone who has stopped seeing their audience as people. That's who. Now, here's where it gets interesting. And by interesting, I mean deeply, fundamentally troubling. Because you might be thinking, okay, someone said something terrible on a live stream 6 years ago. People make mistakes. People say things they regret. Maybe she learned. Maybe she grew. Maybe this is a closed chapter, a cautionary tale, a person who looked at the wreckage she caused and decided to do better. That would be a clean story, a redemptive arc, something you could file away and move on from. But that's not the story. Here's the story. She kept going. The behavior didn't stop. The pattern didn't break. The lesson, if it was ever truly absorbed, didn't stick. Because lessons don't stick when you don't actually believe you did anything wrong. And InvaderVie, by every available indication, never really believed she did anything wrong. She still sits in that stream. The ring light still glows. The camera still rolls. And she is still asking for money. But there's a new wrinkle now. Something that has developed over the years that the original clip didn't quite capture. Something that, once you see it, you can't unsee. She belittles her chat. Not in the obvious, aggressive way that you might expect from someone who has already demonstrated this level of contempt. Not with blunt hostility. No, it's subtler than that. And subtlety is what makes it stick. It comes in the form of jokes, teasing, that particular brand of mockery that always has an escape hatch. It's just a joke. Relax. You're too sensitive. But spend enough time watching, and I have spent more time than I care to admit preparing this, and you start to feel the weight of what's underneath the jokes. The jokes aren't warmth. They're not the easy ribbing of a streamer who genuinely loves their community. There's something else. They're the sound of someone who has decided, somewhere along the way, that their audience exists to serve them, and that the audience should be grateful for the privilege. This is not how you build a community. This is how you cultivate a captive audience that is too confused about where the jokes end and the contempt begins to know when to leave. And then there's the other thing. The thing that frankly I debated including, not because it isn't relevant, but because talking about it feels like exactly what she wants. Attention, reaction, clicks. But it has to be mentioned, because it is part of the complete picture of who InvaderVie is and what she has decided her brand is going to be. She has leaned hard into a particular kind of persona. The idea that people tune in for her, for the way she presents herself, the way she speaks, the image she has constructed, that the parasocial relationship her viewers have with her is somehow a testament to her magnetism rather than a product of careful engineering and a lot of time spent in front of a camera. There is nothing inherently wrong with having a personality-driven stream. This is the internet. Personality is currency. But there is something wrong, something deeply, specifically wrong about using that persona as leverage. About weaponizing the intimacy of a parasocial relationship to extract money, loyalty, and engagement from people who came to you because they were lonely or bored or just wanted something to watch on a Tuesday night. What she is selling is the feeling of connection, and she is charging admission for it. And when you can't pay admission, she looks you in the eye, through the screen, through the camera, through however many miles of fiber optic cable separate you from her ring light, and she tells you that you are the problem. That is not entertainment. I'm not entirely sure what to call it, but entertainment is not the word. Here's a question worth sitting with. Twitch is a platform built on a specific kind of promise. You come here to watch people do things, real things, interesting things. Someone climbs a mountain and brings you along for the hike. Someone builds a world inside a game and lets you watch it grow. Someone makes food in a kitchen that looks like yours and teaches you something you didn't know an hour ago. That is what Twitch is, at its best. And then you have a corner of that platform, a small, dark corner where someone sits in a chair and performs a version of themselves specifically calibrated to make you feel like you owe them something, where the content is not the adventure or the game or the food. The content is her, just her, talking, in ways that, stripped of the gloss and the production value, would make most reasonable people deeply uncomfortable. This raises a genuine question about platform responsibility, about where content belongs. There are places on the internet, many of them, where the kind of performance InvaderVie has developed would fit neatly, where the expectations are clear, the audience is self-selecting, and nobody stumbles in by accident looking for a cooking stream and finds something they weren't prepared for. Twitch is not one of those places. And the reason that matters, the reason it genuinely matters beyond just personal taste or moral squeamishness, is that Twitch is not age-gated in the way that other platforms are. Children use it. Teenagers use it. Young people who are still forming their understanding of what relationships look like, what it means to be valued, what you owe another person and what you don't, they are on this platform. They can stumble into any stream. They can sit there and absorb the idea that the person in the ring light deserves their money, and that if they don't give it, they are ungrateful, selfish, unworthy of the content being provided. That is not a small thing. That is a lesson with consequences. But here, right here, is where I want to make sure we're being precise. Because it would be easy to watch everything I've laid out and reduce it to, InvaderVie is a bad person. And maybe that's true. But it's too simple. It lets the real issue off the hook. The real issue is not one person with a bad attitude and a sense of entitlement. The real issue is that this works. Somewhere, right now, there is a person watching her stream. They've been watching for months, maybe years. They subscribe, not because they particularly want to, but because the slow drip of guilt has worn them down to the point where it's easier to pay than to feel the discomfort of not paying. They've been conditioned slowly, carefully, over many streams and many loaded jokes and many sighs about viewer counts to feel that their presence alone is not enough, that they owe a debt simply for existing in the chat. That person does not know they've been manipulated. Or maybe they do know, and they stay anyway, because the parasocial connection feels like the only connection they have, and walking away from it feels like losing something real. That is the infection. That is what spreads. It spreads because loneliness is real, because people are genuinely isolated, because the internet offers a simulacrum of community that can feel in the right light, exactly like the genuine article, right up until the moment the streamer shrugs and says it's just $5, and you realize, with a cold, quiet clarity, that they never saw you at all. They saw a metric, a subscription count, a line on a graph. You were never a person to them. So why does this video exist? Why excavate something from 6 years ago? Why pull it back into the light? Because the passage of time is not absolution. Because something being old does not make it harmless. Because the behavior that produced that original clip, the shrug, the casual contempt, the "it's just $5" is not historical. It is ongoing. The archive of who InvaderVie is and how she treats the people who come to her stream is not locked away somewhere. It is findable. It is searchable. It is there, waiting, for anyone who looks. So look. If you are thinking about watching her, if someone recommended her to you, if you stumbled across her channel and you're trying to decide whether to stay, look. Search her name. Read what people have written. Watch the clips. Pay attention to what you feel when you watch them. Not the surface level entertainment, but the thing underneath it. The thing that makes you slightly uneasy without quite being able to name why. That feeling is important. Trust it. Because the people who ended up hurt by this, who internalized the guilt, who paid money they didn't have, who sat in that chat feeling small and somehow responsible for someone else's income, those people didn't have a warning. You do. The name is InvaderVie. The platform is Twitch. The behavior is documented. The pattern is real. And the infection? It's still spreading. She is the unseen justice. We are not here to be famous. We are not here to make money. We are not here for the spotlight. We are here to cleanse the rot from this world and make it safer for the innocent people that want to escape from the real world, make new friends, and have a good time. Remember, we will be watching, and we will go after the evil that tries to hurt this world.